Well, you clicked on Paranormal Podcast, so welcome to this. This is our first Paranormal Podcast. Essentially, what we're going to do, you're going to get one of these every week. She's going to laugh. Are you laughing, Mother? Go on. Laugh.
No.
That's all right.
You liar.
We're a family from Blackburn, and we're all pretty much into the paranormal to different degrees. We agree that there are things out there. The woman chuckling in the middle is our parapsychologist, believe it or not. She is a fully trained... I'm Gary, by the way. I'm the voice of reason in all this. We've got talking for the paranormal things, leaning toward the side of believing things, is our resident parapsychologist, Marie.
Hiya.
Hello, very good. Yeah, don't hide behind your hands. It's all good. The voice of reason on the other side, questioning things, is Martin.
Hello.
Hello, Martin. Very good. Right. So you'll be wondering what you've clicked on then when you've clicked on this. Well, this is our first discussion. What it's going to do, we're going to do in every paranormal podcast, we're going to do a question and we'll have a little chat about it. Feel free to send your answers, your emails, your thoughts, anything. If you listen to this and you think we're talking bollocks or you totally agree or whatever it might be, feel free, listen for the email address in a little while. Right, the first question then, is there life after death? Discuss. What's our parapsychologist's view on it?
Yeah, there's some.
Genius inside there. Well, that's conclusively answered the question.
Next time. Yeah, there is, but we don't know what it is, do we?
Well, someone said that...
If there weren't anything at all, churches wouldn't have teams of priests to go around and exercise things and calm things, you know. I mean, they wouldn't do it for now, would they?
It's true. If they do it, I mean...
Well, they do it. Catholic Church does it.
Okay, well, let's... Some people would say that when you die, you die. You know, other people say that you go on and you go on to another life and after another place, whatever it might be, heaven, hell, whatever people's beliefs are. Where do you think we go? What do you think happens at the point of death? I keel over now. My soul, my...
Don't do it yet, you make a mess.
I'll do my best. All right, I'll try and stay alive for all this.
Right.
What happens to me? Because my physical remains, whether die, get burnt, whatever, get buried, rot away. What happens to the me bit?
The soul.
Yeah, is that what we're calling it? The soul?
We'll call it the soul. Yeah, the soul is energy. Energy never dies.
Well, I'll give you that. It's a physical law, if we're talking about laws of physics, that energy never goes away, it changes.
It changes. And that's what happens to us, in my opinion.
So can you possibly elaborate on that more?
In my opinion, when somebody dies, the soul goes to call it a different vibration to what we're on now. It changes and goes into another.
So essentially, another dimension is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, go on. I'll say that, and it has, you know, it goes into another dimension or another.
And what form do you believe it takes? Do you believe it take the form of another person, another being? Or do you believe we have another purpose on the other side, if there is such a thing as the other side?
Yeah, as an energy mass, I think maybe if we had to see it, it would be like possibly a light energy type of thing.
Okay, so you think your point of view basically is that we go on somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay, what about Martin? What about the voice of reason?
In all honesty, I do believe there's something, but I don't have any idea about what it could be. What I do question, though, you hear a lot of accounts of out-of-body experiences, as a result often of near-death experiences.
Yeah.
The explanation for which is open to some debate.
Well, we got these out-of-body experiences, for anybody who's listening and doesn't know what they are. Essentially, you come near death, you have a traumatic accident, you're in hospital, and they lose you, your heart stops or whatever, and people have reported, it's generally the same kind of report, that they leave the body, and although they're unconscious and their heart stopped, they're aware of the medical team working around them. Sometimes they report being floating around at the top of a room and being able to see from outside the body the medical team working, and they're able to quote what the medical team have said, particular orders they've done, particular procedures they've carried out. Some people then claim that they go down a tunnel, or they're drawn towards a light, or in some cases they see figures that you could say are stereotypical biblical figures, you know, the Jesus type figure, or family members eking them towards the light. Some hold that up as proof that we do go on somewhere. Others say, there's some suggestion it might be some sort of comfort mechanism that your brain dreams up to, like ease the trauma.
Could it not just be a lucid dream that half confuses facts with fiction?
That might be alright, but there has been cases where, you can't really say it's a comfort thing because they've been clinically dead, but they've been able to tell doctors exactly what's been said by doctors and nurses. Now, a comfort dream or a comfort, you couldn't do that.
I'll float up as part of that coma patients who, to all intents and purposes, are dead to the world. But
they're not dead.
No, but they're incommunicado. They can't be communicating. But people talk to them, and it's argued that on some level that familiar voice, that song or whatever, gets through to them and kind of kick-starts something in the brain. So could it be that when your heart's stopping, you've still got brain activity and it's perhaps picking up things that you... Maybe?
Yeah, but when a doctor in the hospital is working on somebody, so somebody's had a bad heart attack and they've worked on them and they pronounce them dead, then people have actually come back of their own accord, which has startled doctors, and it's made some doctors actually begin to look into near-death experiences because, there's been a case of a woman that were actually pronounced dead. She went morgue, and she weren't suffering from narcolepsy. She were no brain activity. She pronounced dead.
What do you make of some people that come back and they feel that they've wasted the time on Earth up to now, and I've had such a close shave? I suppose it'd be natural for people to come back and want to live life to the full.
Yeah.
Other people kind of go religious. They find a God because they've had this encounter with like a Jesus figure, if I want to say, a Jesus type figure, and they come back full of religious passion, if you like.
Well, if you think about it, if you were in an accident and you died, and while you were dead, you saw things and people and had people talking to you and explaining things to you, and whatever happens to you when that happens, what would you do when you come back? How would you feel? Surely you'd look at everything completely different.
But how do we have concrete proof, though, of the fact that near-death experiences and the experiences that happen after the point of death are actually real and not the mind's form of shutting down, sir?
Well, I can give you a personal experience before I knew about near-death experiences.
Okay, go on.
And it was nearly 30 years ago. And I was in the labour ward and everything were okay. And all of a sudden, everything went dark, and the nurses and doctor that were on my bed all of a sudden seemed to be 2 rooms away, very, very distant, with their voices. And all I could see were black. Right far away in front of me, there were a tiny spot, white spot. And that spot got bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was the brightest thing I've ever seen. And I remember talking out loud and saying, I can see the sun. And it was bright and it was warm. But not like, if you stand in the sun and it's burning hot. It was just a different kind of warm. And it was and I were in, like, I'll say it was a tunnel, a long tunnel, and it was black. And the light at the very end, it got bigger and brighter, and it got that bright that I could see people stood on either side of the tunnel, and I were upright, but I weren't walking. I seemed to be gliding down the tunnel, and the light was that bright behind these people. I couldn't see who they were. They were just like black silhouettes.
I was going to say, did you recognise it?
No, I couldn't see a face, or there were just people stood there in the tunnel on either side, and I were passing them, but the light was that bright, it just lit them up as black silhouettes. And then as I got, I'll say about halfway towards this big light thing, all of a sudden, room were back, and everybody's talking, round, you know, nurses and midwife and everything, and everything just went back to normal, and baby were born and everything were fine. And it run it day after, when I were in the normal ward, out at labour ward, that they told me they were keeping me in a bit longer because I had hemorrhaged. And it must have been at that time that, and when I looked on my arm, there were a lot of injection marks.
That they tried to fettle you with.
Yeah. And, you know, so, and I didn't know about tunnels and at this time, you know. Only later that when I heard these stories, I thought, we're in a tunnel, you know, there were lights. So I don't know, you know.
So
I know
you've clearly undergone medical emergency there.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
What would you make, Martin? That's compelling evidence if you've gone through that, and
Absolutely.
You know, that's going to colour your belief. But I know people, I know one person in particular, as do you, a certain gentleman who will remain nameless, but he's a bit deaf, who collapsed in doctors, and his heart stopped, and he died for a number of minutes, and they brought him back, and he reports that he saw absolutely nothing. Because first thing I said were, "Did you see out? Did you have any experience?" And he reports absolutely nothing. He just went to sleep, and his comment were, "If dying is like that, if you just go to sleep, I've no fear of it." So there were no. Well, if it were part of the dying procedure that you went on down a tunnel or somewhere else, wouldn't that happen to everybody?
Yeah, maybe it should come as standard. I don't know.
You'd imagine.
Or maybe it depends if what we're told in the Bible is true. Then we take a different route. But that could be another debate altogether.
Yeah, we'll talk about religion and how it kept people under. That's in a future paranormal podcast.
Yes. But what I would like to ask is that, as I was saying, you clearly underwent a medical emergency at some point during that experience. When you were in the normal ward the day after, did you receive any feedback from any of the things that you'd described, or that you believed you'd described while you were undergoing this experience?
What do you mean feedback?
Did anybody mention anything that you'd said about being able to see the sun, or
did they?
The midwife that did the delivery, she knows. She said that I said I could see the sun.
So you actually said that physically?
I spoke it out. I remember
that
speaking
in your
it out.
You actually
no, I spoke
said
it out.
Right.
And but it just makes me think. You know, sometimes they say, "Oh well, they've had a near-death experience because it could be the drugs that they were on when they were having a, you know,
it's
an
a possible, attack." You know.
But at that time, I'd gone into the hospital, and I were at such a stage in labour that it was too late for me to have any.
So you.
So I hadn't had any at that point when I. You know, had the experience that I had. It were while I were having that experience that they give me the injections and stuff, you know, but I'd had nothing at all when I went into that. So I saw that with no drugs.
Did it change? I don't know what your thoughts were before you had that experience about perhaps a life after death, but did it change? Did you look at life differently after that experience? What did you make of it when you were better and maybe 3-6 months down the line?
Well, I wouldn't say it made me religious, but from time to time, you do remember it, you do think, and it just makes you wonder. You know, like now where we've talked about this, and I've brought that up because it come back to me when Martin said, you know, we have no definite proof, but you know, that happened to me, and
that's your own experience.
I mean, when somebody, you know, like the person you're talking about, died and didn't see anything, it doesn't necessarily mean out that, because if you think about it, some people, that person died, so it can't be the standard thing. You know what I mean? Because some do see, some don't see.